Greetings from Redefined Church. I'm Joel Van Briggle, and I'm delighted you've chosen to be with us today. Redefined Church is a gathering of people from many different nations and various backgrounds who are exploring faith at the intersection of life, community, and mission. Our desire is that you sense that you belong. Whether you've been attending church for many years or you've never come to church before, we want you to know that you belong. If you'd like to speak with someone about furthering your journey and perhaps needing prayer, we want to connect with you. Drop us a message and we would love to connect with you to help you take next steps. You are also always welcome at our in-person gatherings at our Overijse campus and our Tervuren campus. Check our social media and website for all the details. We look forward to connecting with you. And now, today's message.
You know, you cannot unbake cookies. Once it's baked, it's done, you cannot change it. Just recently, I got a speeding ticket. I was bringing my brother-in-law to the bus and we were late, and I thought, oh, it's safe, there are no cameras here, and I went 70 instead of 50, and I got this massive speeding ticket. You know, some things are irreversible. They cannot be undone. Death is one of those things. At least that's what we think. In the last weeks, we have been looking at stories where Jesus is where funerals are being interrupted. We looked at a story in the Old Testament where people were burying somebody and their funeral was interrupted by a gang of robbers, and they dropped a body in the grave and something happened. We looked at the interruption of a funeral where Jesus came into a city where a funeral procession came out, and Jesus interrupted the funeral. We looked at the death of a little girl last week where Jesus just again interrupted the funeral proceedings. And today again we are looking at a funeral, but the funeral has taken place 4 days ago. 4 days ago somebody died. And it seems like all hope is lost. He's already been in the grave. He's been dead by 4 days. And we're going to the story of Lazarus. And I think everybody has heard the story of Lazarus. And we go to John, the Gospel of John, chapter 11. But before that, in chapter 10, we're reading about the end of a period in the ministry of Jesus, where he's always in and around Jerusalem, and it becomes too dangerous for him. The religious leaders are plotting to kill him, and he's moving away to another place about 2 days travel from Jerusalem. And while he is there, news arrives from two sisters he knows very well, a family he knows very well, and they have a brother. And they're sending this message to him: Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. Yeah, and the one they're talking about is Lazarus. And so Jesus hears that his friend, the one he loves, is sick. And what does he do? Nothing. He relaxes. He enjoys the view, he enjoys the weather, enjoys the food, enjoys the people around him. He does not do anything for 2 days. And after 2 days, he is starting to move. You think, man, what is wrong? Your friend is sick. It seems like he's close to death, and you're not doing anything. You're not even moving. After 2 days, he tells his disciples, we're going back to Bethany, which is close to Jerusalem, and the disciples are getting a little bit anxious. He says, Jesus, this is dangerous. You know, they're trying to kill you. It's dangerous to go there. And he tells them he is going to wake Lazarus up. And then the disciples immediately tell him about Jesus. If he's asleep, that's good. Sleep is good for one who is sick, so let him sleep. But then Jesus tells him, no, Lazarus is dead. He breaks the news to him, Lazarus is dead. So they're on their way, and when they finally arrive at the house of Martha and Mary, the two sisters, the funeral has been taken place, they're still mourning, and Lazarus is in his grave already 4 days. Now, this is an important fact, because there was this belief in Jewish tradition that a soul would linger around a body for 3 days. And on the 4th day, when nothing has changed, it would finally depart the body, meaning that after 3 days, all hope was lost. See, two sisters, one brother, two sisters that are financially depending on that one brother. Remember, in Jewish times, in the times of Jesus, women were of, and I'm sorry to say this, of no consequence. Women needed a man to help them. Women needed a man to protect them. Women needed a man to provide for them. And for those two sisters, life has radically changed. Not just because they lost a brother, but they lost everything. And here they are. All hope is gone. And you can ask the question, why did Jesus wait so long? Why did he wait 2 days? Why did he come when all hope was gone? When he finally meets Martha, Martha is disappointed. And she tells Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. See, the brother is gone. He has died. Their hope has died. And their life has changed forever. But we have to remember this. It is not over until God says it's over. And Jesus tells Martha, your brother will live again. And Martha, she knows what Jesus is talking about. This is a popular teaching, a well-known teaching in that time, that the saints will be resurrected in the last days. And she tells Jesus, yes, I know. In the last days, he will be resurrected again, and I will see him. So Martha is thinking about the future resurrection in the last days. But Jesus completely transforms that statement. And he tells her, I am the resurrection and the life. See, all previous resurrections were done on the day that somebody died. When we go to the Old Testament and the New Testament, we see resurrections, but almost all of them happened on the day people died. Jesus is interrupting a funeral of the widow of Nain. The daughter of Jairus died, and the same day Jesus was there. But here it is a completely different situation. Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. All hope is gone. See, but Jesus, he is not talking about, when he's talking to Martha, he is not talking about a future resurrection. He is talking about today. He says, I am the resurrection and the life. What he did is that he moved the teaching about the resurrection out of the future and into the present. Martha was looking towards the future, knowing that Lazarus would be resurrected on the last day and that she would see him again. Her friends were looking at the past and saying he could have prevented Lazarus from dying. But Jesus is trying to bring their attention to the present. Wherever he is, God's resurrection power is available now. As the gravestone is rolled away, Martha is again confronted with that reality. 4 days, she tells Jesus. 4 days he's in the grave. He is starting to smell. Decomposition has started. He is smelling. But Jesus reminds her of the talk that they had. I am the resurrection and the life. See, true faith is relying on God's promises and thereby releasing God's power. I want to say that again. True faith is relying on God's promises and thereby releasing God's power. So Jesus speaks and he says these famous words, Lazarus, come out. And you have to realize that something incredible happened there. I don't think it was one miracle. I think 2 miracles happened that day. First, Lazarus was brought back to life. He was raised from the dead. But we also have to realize the procedures that were taking place when somebody was buried. The body would be put on a linen sheet that was wide enough to cover his whole body and twice the length of his body. And so they would fold that linen cloth over him. Then they would fold it over his head. They would fold it over his legs. They would tie the legs together at the ankles. They would tie the arms to the body. And then they would wrap the head with more linen cloth. Now imagine, Mark Battison in his book, The Grave Robber, tells us that he thinks that Lazarus looked like a mummy. Just imagine, you are wrapped like that and you have to walk out of a grave. And commentators agree that this was also a miracle. Lazarus was raised from the dead, but then he somehow got up and shuffled, hopped, whatever he had to do out of that grave. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. But you have to ask yourself, why is all this happening? Why is Jesus taking his sweet time to come to Bethany, to the place where Lazarus is? Why is he waiting 2 days? Why is he arriving 4 days late? See, he could have left immediately. He could have just spoken the word. Be healed. He has healed people before over a distance. Why did he wait so long? Why did he wait so that Lazarus was in the grave for 4 days and that everybody knew this man is really dead? His body is decomposing. All that stuff that normally happens to a dead body has started to work. According to everyone, this is a situation beyond hope. See, if Jesus had healed Lazarus in the beginning, if he had interrupted the funeral procession, it would just have reinforced what they already knew. They knew Jesus could heal the sick. They knew he could interrupt funeral processions and raise people from the dead. They had seen that. But this was a complete new situation. See, Jesus wanted his people to grow in their faith. He wanted their faith to be stretched so they would become stronger. And in order to do that, sometimes things have to go from bad to worse before they get better. Dr. Charles Crabtree has this famous line, and he said, never put a comma where God puts a period, and never put a period where God puts a comma. In other words, let God decide when it's ending, and not us. We keep hoping, we keep believing, we keep praying until God says it's done. Why did Jesus take so much time? Why did he wait so long? Because he wanted to stretch their faith. He wanted their faith to grow. But he's also showing us that he is the resurrection and the life. That he is the one who will finally conquer that last enemy called death. See, Martha has this undeniable faith in Jesus. And she says, if you had been here, my brother would have lived. And Jesus, again, he reassures us, yes, that is true. Martha, your brother will live. And when she says this, when they're having this conversation, Jesus says these famous words, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even if he dies. And the one who lives and believes in me will never die. See, Jesus is showing Martha a few things she did not know. She did not know before. See, in Martha's mind, her brother was dead. He was dead for 4 days. All hope was lost. They had reached the point of no return. But Jesus is telling her, yes, that's true. Your brother is dead, but I am the resurrection and the life. And even if you think that the point of no return has been passed, I still, and even if you think that he's been dead for 4 days, your brother is still not beyond the range of my power. See, Martha had to understand that Jesus' power goes beyond of what they can comprehend. Jesus says, I am the resurrection. Martha is talking about the resurrection as a teaching. Jesus, he states it as a fact. He says, I am the resurrection. He points to himself. I am identified as the resurrection and the life. He does not say, I raise people from the dead. He doesn't say, I provide resurrections. He says, I am the resurrection. He makes it very personal. And not only does he prove it by raising Lazarus from the dead, he will prove it finally, completely, a few weeks later, after his crucifixion, when he's put in the grave and he raises himself out of the death, out of his grave. See, this story is more than just a story about somebody who died. It is the introduction into Easter. Easter that is happening in a few weeks. When we continue to read in the story, we read how the religious leaders are becoming so afraid of Jesus that they are prepared to kill him and are starting making plans to do so. All of this is an introduction into the death of Jesus. But there's more. It is also, the miracle shows what Jesus did for Lazarus. The miracle points to Jesus' own resurrection, but it also foreshadows your resurrection my resurrection. It's really a snapshot of what Jesus wants to do in your life, right here, right now. See, when we sin, when we disobey God, it is like we are being wrapped up in grave clothes. When we are being dragged down by those clothes that limit our movements, and it buries us alive and makes a mummy out of us. We become the shadow of the person we are meant to be. And if you keep on sinning, if you keep on living that lifestyle, it just puts you down and down and down, where you're being weighed down with the grave clothes that are just hanging on you. But Jesus is calling you out of that tomb. He said, Lazarus, come out. He has said, Albert, come out. Joel, come out. James, come out. Mark, come out. And he has called your name. And he says, come out. Lazarus came out and he was freed from those grave clothes. And he could move and live and be the person he was called to be. He received life. And Jesus is calling you. And he will free you as well from those grave clothes that are binding you. See, Jesus asked Mary when they had their conversation, and he asked Mary, Mary, do you believe this? And Mary answered, yes, Lord. And it's that yes, Lord, that can change your life. It's that yes, Lord, that can change your eternity. God is asking you the question. Jesus is asking you the question. Do you believe this? It's not multiple choice. It's true or false. And it's probably the most important question you will ever answer. An answer, a decision that will determine your eternal destiny. In Romans 10, verse 9, we read, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that he has raised him from the dead, you will be saved. See, when Jesus died on the cross, Satan smiled. But Jesus had the last laugh. He always does. And if you give him a chance, he will give you a second chance. He will give you your smile back. He will give you your laugh back. He will give you your life back. Jesus is asking you, do you believe this? Lord Jesus, here we're standing, and we say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, we believe. We believe that if we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord, if we believe in our heart that God has raised him from the dead, that we will be saved. And Father, on that word, we're standing here today. And Father, our answer is yes. I believe. And I pray for everybody that's listening today, for everybody that's watching today. Father, I pray that they will hear that same question. Do you believe? And that your answer will be, yes, Lord.
Thank you so much for joining us here at Redefined Church. If you have any questions or want prayer, we encourage you to send us a private message. We would be happy to connect with you and to pray with you to help you in your faith journey. Make sure this week to get a hold of the Redefining Moments. You can find those on our website and on our Facebook page. It's a daily prayer and Bible reading guide designed to help you grow and in your walk with Jesus Christ. Make sure that you check out our website so that you can see everything that's happening and to be part of that here at Redefined Church. May God bless you, and we hope that you have an incredible week.